We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glory UGA podcast, brought to you by our good friends at MyBookie. If you are of the betting persuasion, if you have been known to place a wager or two every now and then on college football games, guys, check out MyBookie today. Go to mybookie.ag, use our promo code UGA when you sign up for your new account, and they're going to cover your first bet all the way up to $500. Guys, it really is an awesome promo deal, so jump on it while you can. But we've got a big one this week as the Dogs make the short trip to the Plains to take on the Auburn Tigers in the latest edition of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And as I do each and every week here during the college football season, I have a deep dive preview of this matchup between Georgia and Auburn for you today that gives all you diehard Georgia fans everything you need to know about this big game. And speaking of diehard Georgia fans, if you fit that description, go ahead, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, and subscribe to this channel right now, because everything that we do here on this channel is 100% designed for you guys, diehard Georgia fans. We don't do the casual stuff, right? For better or worse, we don't do that. There's plenty of outlets out there, but this channel is for you Georgia diehards. So subscribe right now, turn notifications on, like, comment, tell me what you think about this Georgia football game against Auburn. Are you as concerned as I am? Do you feel good about the Dogs' chances? Where is your headspace? Where are you right now as we head into this football game? But all right, guys, with that, let's get into this preview. Big game. Big game. Any way you slice it, guys, this is a big-time matchup, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And I have had my eyes on this football game for a long time. Those of you who've been with us for a while, going back to, like, we've been in the show for 11 years, but those of you who've even been listening since the preseason, going back to the summer months, you've heard me say quite a few times that I have serious concerns about this football game. So this is not like, I've seen Georgia play a couple games now, so now I'm freaking out. This is, no, I have had my eyes on this game for a while. I have spent a good portion of the offseason telling a lot of you out there and anyone else who would listen to watch out for this game. And there are a number of reasons for that, guys. The setup, number one, is tough. It's not ideal for Georgia. When game times came out, like, we didn't have the official game time back in May, but like around Memorial Day, we got a number of our game times, at least the windows now. It's one of the benefits of having all the games on ESPN's family of networks. And we knew this was going to be a night game. We didn't know if it was going to be 7 or 7:30 or 7:45, ABC, ESPN, SEC Network. We didn't know that, but we knew it was going to be a night game. And I can tell you guys, this is an incredibly difficult place to play. As someone who has been to every Georgia-Auburn game at Auburn since I guess 2009 or so, I'm telling you, man, I don't care if it's at noon, if it's at 3:30. Most of them at 3:30 recently. It's always a tough place to play for Georgia. Always. It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry. This goes back a long time, man. And now that we're playing them at night, I try to remember, like, when was the last time we played a night game in Jordan-Hare Stadium? I can't remember, man. It's been 3:30 for a while. I know 2015. That was the Mark Richt's final stand there. I thought when he won that game, he saved his job. I was like, let's go, Mark, you saved his job. But obviously, I was wrong there. That was a noon game, if I remember correctly. So it's been a minute since we had a true night game. Some of the games, like when we're playing them in November, by the time it's second half kickoff, it's night, but it didn't start at night. So this is a little bit different, guys. It's going to be a tough place. It's going to be out of control wild inside that stadium. And then there's also the fact they have a bye week. This is a non-mutual bye. We do not, obviously. We played Kentucky last week. They are coming into this game off of a bye. I think that matters, guys. I'm not saying that means Auburn's going to win. It's, the team's coming off byes, when it's a non-mutual bye. They don't win every game. Like, it's not 100% like a thing that happens every time. But I do believe it's an advantage. I do believe that's an advantage. And when you also factor in they're playing at home at night, that is something to watch there. And then there's also this, guys. Auburn's just better. They have more talent than they've had in a while. It's been a minute, okay? They have slowly but surely filled out their roster more and more under Hugh Freeze. They've used the transfer portal liberally. They've gotten some players, and they have some difference makers on defense. Went out and got Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech. Went out and got Jackson Arnold. We'll talk about him in a minute here from Oklahoma at the quarterback position. Their roster is still not like to the point where like neck and neck with Georgia. They've closed the gap. They absolutely have closed the gap. So this is a much better, more talented Auburn team than we have seen in a number of years. And guys, look, I'm just telling you, we're going to get their best shot. We always do, especially there. If you've been to a Georgia-Auburn game in Jordan-Hare Stadium, you know what I'm talking about. I can't speak for what it's like when Georgia's not there because I only go there when Georgia goes, right? But when Georgia's there, it is an insane environment. 100% is, guys, and they haven't beat us in a long time. I was there last time they beat us, 2017, November 2017, right? And since that time, Auburn has fallen on some hard times, y'all. It's been dark over there on the plains. And now there's kind of sort of a little bit coming out of that. Yeah, they're coming off back-to-back losses to Oklahoma and A&M. Those are two good football teams. But they feel better. They feel like they're on the right trajectory. And this could be their coming out party. This could be the game they get a top 10 opponent, a rivalry, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. We're going to get their best shot. We always do. We always do that statement. We're going to get the crowd's best shot. We're going to get that team's best shot. So with that, let's dive into this preview, guys. And we're going to use the same format that I've been using the past couple of weeks. Got some positive feedback on it, so we're going to keep rolling with it. And it is the countdown format. Those of you who are just finding the channel for the first time, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to give you 5 players to know from this Auburn team. So 5 players, as Georgia fans, you need to be watching for on Saturday. I'm going to give you 4 stats that matter that really kind of tell the story of this game, at least previewing the game, the lead up to the game. I'll give you 3 matchups I like. So 3 reasons I like Georgia's chances to win this game. I'll also look at the flip side and give you 2 reasons for concern, 2 things that scare me about this game, 2 reasons why Auburn might be able to pull this upset. And I'll wrap things up with 1 player to watch, which is 1 player on Georgia's roster that I think could have a big game for the Dogs on Saturday. So with that, let's dive in, guys. 5 names to know. We're going to start up the top here with the quarterback position. We always start with the quarterback, guys. Whatever team, I don't care. It is the most important position on any football team. And Auburn has, I believe, upgraded their talent. Peyton Thorne was up and down for Auburn. At his best, Peyton Thorne wasn't terrible. He was solid at his best. He was a turnover machine and just didn't make enough plays for them. So they go out and get Jackson Arnold in the transfer portal. They get him from Oklahoma. If you remember that name from recruiting, big-time recruit back in the day, a former 5-star guy, but it did not work out for him in Oklahoma. I think they benched him a little too early last year. They kind of used him as a scapegoat. Now, he didn't play great, but they had so many injuries on offense. All top 5 receivers out very early in the year, offensive line issues all over the place, running back issues. It was a mash unit up and down the entire offense. And he took the brunt of the criticism for that because he's the quarterback. And they benched him very early in that season. Like when Oklahoma went to Auburn to play last year, they didn't start Jackson Arnold. They started Michael Hawkins, a freshman. So it just didn't work out for Arnold, right? And he comes back later in the year, gets a job back, and actually leads that upset of Alabama late in the season, which cost Alabama a shot in the college football playoff. But he's a talented guy. It's been really inconsistent for him in his college career. But this season, he's been solid. Hasn't been elite. Hasn't been a liability, though, either. He's been solid. He was a liability at times with Oklahoma. He was just so wildly erratic. But this year, he's completing 65% of his passes for only 846 yards through 5 games. So not throwing for a lot of yards. 5 touchdowns. Importantly, though, no interceptions. But they don't throw the ball a lot, guys. I mean, we'll get that when we get to our 4 stats that matter. Right now, they are almost dead last in the SEC in passing yards per game. They actually only throw for 1 more yard per game. I think 173 to Kentucky's 172. 1 yard better than Kentucky in pass yards per game. So he hasn't been a major threat with his arm. The passing game has not been humming on all cylinders to this point in the season. But this guy's a different kind of quarterback. He is not of the drop back variety. That's not what he really does. If you can force Jackson Arnold to drop back and stay in the pocket, you're probably going to beat Auburn because he's not going to beat you with his arm from the pocket. He really excels when he's off structure. In structure, that's not what Jackson Arnold does well. Like, that's not what you want him to do. He's a guy that really excels when he's on the move, when he's scrambling, when he's playing like backyard football. He's that kind of guy, really off-structure kind of guy. And he is incredibly athletic. He's a dynamic athlete, guys. He really is in a lot of ways like a running back there playing quarterback. And they will use him like that. They will use the full gamut of QB run game with him. They'll run QB power. They'll run some perimeter run game with him. They'll do your basic classic zone reads. They'll do RPOs, all those kind of things. They'll run him. Like they have no compunction running this guy. Like they know that's what he does well. And sometimes you have sometimes I don't think we run Gunner as much as we probably should because we're scared of him getting hurt. Like, and that's a fair concern. They don't really have that concern with Arnold. They just let this guy go out and do what he does because that's what he brings to the table. You got to let this guy play to his strengths. He's also lethal on scrambles. Now, does he leave the pocket a little too early sometimes? Yeah. A lot of the time he does. We've seen that with Gunnar Stockton. He's getting better at that. Jackson Arnold falls victim to that just like Gunnar does at times because he is such a dynamic runner. When he sees something open up, when he sees the Red Seas part, if you're in man coverage, he's going to take off. Like as soon as he sees your back turned to him in man coverage, dude's taking off. Like he's not even going to sit in the pocket, right? He's not let the plays develop. He's just taking off and getting what he can get. He ran for 131 on Bama last year, guys. In that game, was it 24-3? They beat Bama. He was 9 of 11 for 68 yards. Like that's reflective of what this guy is. He's not a threat. Like he can hit some plays down the field. He can throw the football. He's got a good arm, but that's not what he does best. He is an athlete back there. That's what he does best. Him running around, that's when he's at his best. He ran for 137 on Baylor earlier this year, but again, he is erratic as a passer. He actually does not turn the ball over that much. If you go back and look at his career historically, you go back to his true freshman year. He didn't play that much until late in the year. Threw a couple picks in the bowl game that were some bad picks, but you're a freshman. But last year, didn't really throw that many picks. He was just really erratic, didn't see the field well, wasn't pulling the trigger when he needed to pull the trigger, just making some really poor decisions. But this year, guys, he still has not turned the ball over, or he has not thrown an interception, which if you watch Peyton Thorne play the past couple years, that in itself is a huge upgrade because Peyton Thorne killed them with interceptions the past couple years. Like they lost games because they threw ridiculously bad interceptions. They lost to Oklahoma last year because of ridiculously bad interceptions at very ill-timed interceptions. And give Arnold credit, he has not thrown a pick this year. Now, is that partially because he's just really too hesitant to pull the trigger? Partially, certainly, but he has protected the football. For better or worse, he's protected the football. But his accuracy does come and go. Like he can push the ball down the field vertically and hit a guy down the field occasionally, but then sometimes you have somebody running wide open and he throws the ball 10 yards over their head or throws the ball out of bounds. And you're like, were you trying to throw the ball to him? Like, were you even trying to, or were you trying to throw the ball away? You have those questions sometimes. And he does make those questionable decisions, even if it's not throwing picks. He will make some questionable decisions. But he is, again, a talented guy. He's a very talented player. He is a playmaker. That's what I would describe Jackson Arnold as. He is a playmaker. He's not a pure quarterback in the truest sense of the word, but he can make plays, and you got to be ready for him at all times. You're going to have somebody watching this guy because he's liable to take off. And when he takes off, guys, he's not going to get, 4, 5, 6 yards. He's biting off 20, 30, 40-yard chunks. That's what he's doing. He's that kind of athlete. So you've got to have a game plan to contain him. So with our pass rush, which we haven't had much of one, you've got to be very careful to stay in your rush lanes. You cannot create those running lanes. You got to press the pocket, the old school mush rush. That's what you have to do with Jackson Arnold because you keep him in the pocket, he's not near as much of a threat as he is outside the pocket off structure, right? All right, next up here, the second player to know is Cam Coleman. Big time receiver, guys. He is as talented a receiver as there is in the country. Jeremiah Smith gets all the love. They're in the same recruiting class, right? Jeremiah Smith is freaking awesome, like understandably so. But Cam Coleman coming to high school was like neck and neck with Jeremiah Smith. And if Cam Coleman was in a different offense, I think people might be talking about him a lot like they talk about Jeremiah Smith. He just so happens to be in the Auburn offense last year with Peyton Thorne and didn't get a ton of opportunities there. Up and down. Same thing here with Jackson Arnold. Up and down, inconsistent passing. They run the ball more than they throw the football. That's kind of what this offense is built to do. So he just doesn't get as many opportunities. But the guy is freakishly athletic, 6'3", 200 pounds, got some physicality to his game. He's really long. He's really athletic. He's a big-time contested catch guy. Big-time contested catch. 17 catches for 255 on the year. But again, with their offense, I don't think that's a reflection of like how good he is. He is a dynamic receiving talent. He just doesn't get as many opportunities with the way this Auburn offense is structured. That's the simple reality. Now, he did that to himself. Like, he knew what he's getting into. It's a Hugh Freeze offense. He went there, took the money, and hey, like, that's a decision he made. But he does not get the opportunities that a guy like Jeremiah Smith does at Oklahoma. But they will take shots with him. Every now and then, they will take a shot. They'll just drop back, have Arnold just drop back randomly, have Coleman run a go route, and just throw it up and see what happens. Just put it in the vicinity of Coleman, and the dude's going to try to go up and get it because he is a ridiculous contested catch machine. But the production with him is just inconsistent. Now, he is capable of making the ridiculous wow play. He had a ridiculous wow touchdown catch against Oklahoma. He makes those plays. He makes them seem routine, but the production's inconsistent. You have those highlight plays, but what happens in between those highlights? So, yeah, Oklahoma, solid game, 3 catches for 88 yards. But against A&M the next week, 4 catches, 18 yards. Against Baylor week 1 catch, 23 yards. So you just never know exactly what you're going to get with Cam Coleman. Again, a large part of that is the offense itself. But if they make a point to feed this guy the football, he can make plays, man. He is a big-time playmaker. And watch him in the red zone. They will absolutely throw fades to him and try to feed him in the red zone, get one-on-one. Watch it, man. They're going to throw the ball to him because he just goes up and he gets the football. So our DBs, our corners, are going to have to fight for the football and find it in the air because that is where this guy really, really excels. All right, number 3, another wide receiver here for you guys to watch. This one you might be a little more familiar with. Eric Singleton Jr., the Georgia Tech transfer, right now has 27 catches for 265 yards. Definitely different from Cam Coleman. They complement each other. Coleman's a bigger physical guy, great athlete, but just a different kind of body type. Singleton's 5'10", 180, guys. Like, he is a true, legit, like, slot receiver, an explosive playmaker. You saw him play at Tech. He is an explosive playmaker, but he's an explosive playmaker that hasn't been that explosive in this Auburn offense. He's only averaging 9.5 yards per catch right now, guys. Under 10 yards per reception. That's down from, like, over 13 yards per catch last year in that Georgia Tech offense. Primarily this year so far, he has been an RPO and screen game guy for them. They're getting him the ball in space and trying to let him go to work, but they haven't really used him much vertically down the field. It's been Cam Coleman who's been more of their vertical threat. But regardless, guys, he is a big play waiting to happen. And I have to believe with a bye week at their disposal, they are going to come into this game equipped, armed with some new ways to get this guy the football. And I'm telling you, man, they're going to try to generate some big plays with him, and he has the capability to do that. He can change the game in an instant. So you got to watch this guy. I do believe they're going to have something cooked up for him coming off that bye week. Now let's move over to the defense side of football. Now, one thing this Auburn defense does really well is they disrupt, whether that's tackles for loss, whether that's rushing the passer, havoc. That's what this Auburn defense creates. And there's 2 guys in particular I think you need to watch for in this game. The first one is a guy named Kieran Crawford. I know you probably thought I was going to go Keldrick Falk, right? Keldrick Falk is awesome. We'll get to them. But I'm going to start with Kieran Crawford here. Keldrick Falk is the guy that gets a lot of the publicity with this Auburn defense. For good reason. He's an awesome player, probably a future first-round draft pick. But Crawford, to this point, at least rushing the passer, creating havoc in the backfield, has been more productive than Falk has been. He's got 4 sacks. He leads the team with 4 sacks. Leads the team also with 6 TFLs. Now, he does play a different position than Keldrick Falk. Crawford he plays their buck linebacker position, which is essentially like our jack linebacker. It's kind of the equivalent of our jack. He's 6'4", 255. So he's like, let's say Quintavious Johnson, right? Or Chaz Chambers was last year. Jalen Walker at times, situation would use him in that role. And he has been wildly productive for them in that role. He's a transfer. He's coming over from Arkansas State. If you watch him play at all and you're not familiar with the names, number 24. If you watch him play, he's number 24. And if you've seen him play, you know what I'm talking about. This guy will get after you. Now, I do think you can run at him in the run game. I do not think he is as good in the run game. He also does a poor job with discipline at times. Like he wants to get after the passer. So come hell or high water, most snaps, he's trying to rush a passer. So he'll get too far upfield sometimes and create these rushing lanes for teams to exploit. So that kind of hurts them at times. But rushing the passer, yeah, this guy is a problem. He gives off the tackles fits. He's athletic. He's explosive. And he is going to be a problem for us. Like, we're going to have a plan to deal with him because they're going to move him around and try to do some different things. They do a lot of twists and stunts up front. They run a lot of games. And they're going to try to get this guy free. Try to get him one-on-one with some of our, especially with our tackles. If Monroe Freeland can't go, that could be a problem, guys. Because this guy is a legit pass rushing threat. And then his running mate is Keldrick Falk, who is awesome, guys. He is probably going to be a first-rounder in this year's NFL draft. But right now, got 2 sacks in the year, 3 tackles for loss. But they do different things with him. He's not the same kind of player as Kieran Crawford is. He's 6'6", 285. He's just a different body type. He plays a different position. He doesn't play their buck linebacker spot, again, the equivalent of our jack linebacker. He's more like a 5-tech defensive end in our scheme, more like Michael Williams, that kind of role. So they'll have him rush the passer off the edge. Sure, he has that ability. He is an explosive pass rusher at that size. But they'll also have him play with his hand in the dirt quite a bit. and they'll even move him inside sometimes, situationally. So he's a much better run defender than Kieran Crawford is, but maybe just not as explosive a pass rusher, although he's still explosive for a guy that's 6'6", 285. So if you pair Keldrick Falk with Kieran Crawford, you throw Malik Blockton in there as well as another really good pass rusher for them, our offensive line, our tackles in particular, are going to have their hands full on the edges dealing with this Auburn pass rush. So there are your 5 players to know on this Auburn roster. Now let's move into our next session. I'll give you 4 stats that matter. First up here, speaking of the Auburn pass rush, guys, they rush the passer really, really well. But there's the other side to this equation. Yeah, they rush the passer well, but man, they cannot protect the passer. Guys, they get up 21 sacks in 5 games. 21 sacks, 5 games. That is dead last, not in the SEC. That's dead freaking last in America, in the country. They've given up 15 sacks in their 2 SEC games against Texas A&M and Oklahoma. 2 good defenses, obviously, but 15 sacks in 2 SEC games. Part of that is Jackson Arnold, the indecisiveness in his game, his struggles to go through progressions and to trust what he's seeing, holding the ball a little too long, trying to run around back there and create. Sometimes you get pulled down, and it goes down as a sack. So part of it is him, for sure. It's not all on the offensive line, but most of it is on the offensive line, guys. A lot of times they're just getting beat off the edges in particular. Sometimes it's communication failures. It's not like a physicality thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's communication failures. And I will say those 2 games, those SEC games, were on the road. We gave up 15 sacks combined. I think that matters because you don't have the benefit of the snap count to work with. And they had a lot of issues with false starts, and it's been a major issue for them getting behind the chains with the penalties consistently. It's been a problem for them. But to say that the Auburn offensive line has been a sieve to this point would be quite the understatement, guys. It has been a disaster for them trying to protect the quarterback. So that is something to watch here in this game. But as we talked about, Auburn does rush the passer well. They are 12th nationally with 16 sacks on the season. They're top 20 also. If you're talking about overall havoc rate, they're 12th in the country with 16 sacks and top 20 in tackles for loss. And guys, they roll a lot of dudes in and out in that front 6. So yeah, you got your headliners in Kieran Crawford and Keldrick Falk. Malik Blockton's another really good player there. They have a number of guys. So they have 16 sacks. 16 sacks from 9 different players. That tells you the type of versatility they have and the number of players they can roll in there. And there's not that much of a drop-off when they roll the second and third guys in there. They want to keep these guys fresh and have them go full speed while they're in there. So yeah, they struggle to protect the passer, but man, they really do a great job of affecting the opposing quarterback. All right, third, this is a very run-heavy team. So I talk about Cam Coleman and how this is a guy that's extraordinarily talented as a receiver, but the opportunities just aren't there for him. He knew what he was getting into. This is Hugh Freeze. This is what he does. This is a run-heavy football team. They run the ball on 57% of their offensive snaps. So they are 14th in the SEC and 96th nationally in pass attempts. So guys, they're not even trying to throw the football. Like a lot of times they're just handing the ball off, Jackson Arnold run game, RPOs. That's kind of what the offense has been for Auburn for most of the season. Now they do have legit wide receivers. Cam Coleman's legit. Eric Singleton's probably a first rounder. Both those guys are first rounders. Malcolm Simmons is another really good receiver for this Auburn football team. But the quarterback isn't there yet. Again, he's just not a pure drop back quarterback. The pass game is not what he does best. He can throw the ball, but it has to complement the run game. In a lot of ways, their offense is not, it doesn't look exactly like our offense does, but the core principles are very similar to what we are trying to do this season. The formula for us to win games. The way they win games is they run the football, establish the run game, and then attack vertically down the field off play action. That's really what they want to do. That's kind of what we want to do, guys. Now, we've had varying degrees of success doing that, whether it's Gunner being willing to take the shots, whether it's offensive line protecting long enough. But that's really kind of what they want to do at the core of their offense as well. And most of what they do in the pass game is built off the run game. They run this heavy RPO action, heavy play action. Very, very rarely do they just drop back, straight drop back pass game. Because again, that's not what Jackson Arnold does well. But this is a run first football team establish a run game and work the pass game down the field off of that, trying to create explosives down the field in the pass game. And finally, guys, my last stat that matters, they're trying to create explosive plays. They want to run the football and create explosive plays down the field. Kind of like us, though, they've had issues doing that consistently. They have not been able to consistently create explosive plays offensively. They are dead last in the SEC and 118th nationally in plays of 20 or more yards. Guys, they only have 16 plays of 20 plus yards through 5 games this season. And I know a lot of you out there are frustrated with our relative lack of explosiveness out there offensively this year. We're taking strides. We're trying to become more explosive. You're seeing the ability to do that. But if you're concerned about our lack of explosiveness, guys, we have 24 plays of 20 or more yards in the year. Auburn only has 16. We've both played 5 games. So if you're worried about us creating explosive plays, they have had even more issues creating explosive plays down the field. So what does that mean? That means it puts an emphasis on execution. And with the issues they've had on the offensive line protecting the quarterback, they have not been able to execute their way down the field on 10, 11, 12 play drives, string together enough drives like that to put points on the board, enough points on the board to win football games. So that's where this Auburn football team is right now. Now let's move into 3 matchups that I like. Number 1 here, I really like, well, let me walk that back. I'm not going to say I really like, but if you look at the Georgia run game versus the Auburn run defense, I think this is a matchup that Georgia could win in this football game. I truly believe, guys, and later in the week, I'll throw out my keys to the game and my official prediction. That's coming later in the week, so make sure to check out that as well. But I think it's imperative that Georgia stays ahead of the chains against Auburn. It's critical in this game. With the way that they can rush the passer, they have a multitude of dynamic pass rushers. If we are in third and obvious passing situations, that is problematic for us. Like, we're going to have major issues doing anything offensively if we're in third and long all game long, because they're going to pin their ears back and they're going to get after the passer. And we have some tackles that have had issues at times. And at guard, you have the right side of the offensive line. You have 2 freshmen. Sometimes they don't communicate. We've had issues there. So it's imperative that we are able to run the football well enough to stay ahead of the chains. If not, there's a chance that Auburn pass rush could just eat us alive in this game if we're in third and long too much in this football game. So how do you stay out of third and long? How do you stay out of those situations? Well, guys, it's easy. You run the football, right? You run the football, screen game, RPOs, and that is something, as we talked about all throughout the season here on this show, that's something the Dogs have been able to do well consistently against everyone we played. Like, we have run the ball well against every single team that we have played. Some more than others, certainly. I mean, against Alabama, we averaged like 7 yards a rush, guys, over 220 against Alabama. We've run the ball well every single time out. We're averaging a little over 200 yards rushing per game against SEC competition, guys, not the baby Seals, against SEC teams. And ostensibly, when you look at the numbers, okay, I'll throw this at you guys, and we'll talk about it. Ostensibly, this doesn't look like a great matchup for Georgia on paper, because if you look at the raw numbers, you see Auburn's only giving up 88 rushing yards per game. So, Taylor, how can you possibly say this is a matchup that you like, that you think Georgia can win? Auburn's only giving up 88 yards a game. I hear you. But you got to look deeper than that, guys. To this point, Auburn has only played 2 SEC games. Yes, they held Oklahoma to 32 yards rushing. Kudos, Auburn. Great job. But if you've watched Oklahoma throughout this year, sure, John Mateer, he's fun to watch, man. He's running around out there. The start-stop ability, it's crazy to watch. But if you really pay attention to Oklahoma, you would know they don't run the football well at all. Like, handing the football to the running back, they've had problems with that all year. They're 97th nationally in rushing offense. So good. You'd rather slow down Oklahoma. That's great, but it's not like what do we learn from that? Oklahoma doesn't run the football well really against anybody. But the 2 teams that Auburn has played this year that are inside the top 40 nationally in rush offense, South Alabama and Texas A&M, have both rushed for at least 140 yards on the Tigers. A&M's running backs combined for 233 total rush yards and 6.5 yards per rush against Auburn. Now, Marcel Riga sacked a lot because that's what Auburn does, and so the sack numbers pull out some yards from the overall rushing numbers. But if you look at what their running backs did, Le'Veon Moss, Ruben Owens, those guys combined for 233 yards, 6.5 yards per carry against Auburn. In Georgia, statistically, runs the football better than Texas A&M does. So I'm not telling you Auburn is terrible against the run. That's not the case. They are good against the run. They just don't defend the run as well as they rush the passer. That is not their primary skill. And like I said earlier, their pass rushers really want to get after the passer. Like that's what they want to do. So they often play undisciplined. Like they'll get too far upfield rushing the passer. They'll leave some open running lanes. Type of running lanes you can drive a Mack truck through, and that hurts them at times. That hurt them against Texas A&M. So I'm not telling you this is an overwhelming matchup advantage for Georgia. But I do think the Dogs can have enough success running the football to stay ahead of the chains and keep themselves out of those predictable third and long situations, which keeps Auburn from being able to pin their ears back and get after the passer. So I do actually like this matchup for Georgia. I think we can have enough success. I'm not saying we're going to run wild on Auburn. They're good against the run. They're just not elite against the run. And I watched A&M a couple weeks ago kind of sort of run wild on them. So I think there's a shot that we can do what we need to do to keep ourselves out of those disadvantageous positions, being in third and obvious passing situations. All right, second big matchup I like here. I like the Georgia pass defense versus the Auburn pass game. Hear me out here, guys. Yes, I am very well aware of the issues that we have had defending the pass this year. I am very well aware of the issues that we've had giving up explosive plays in the pass game. Yeah, Tennessee, man, what was it? A 72-yarder and a 56-yarder, Chris Brazzell against Tennessee. Both touchdowns there. Gave a 29-yard touchdown to a tight end against Kentucky on Saturday. So we have had issues. Like, we've given up far too many explosive plays in the passing game, no doubt. But despite that impressive wide receiver talent that I laid out for you, Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, Malcolm Simmons, despite having that type of talent at receiver, Auburn has arguably the least explosive passing offense in the entire league, guys. They're only averaging 6.2 yards per attempt, which is dead last in the SEC. They only have 9 passing plays of 20 or more yards on the year. Again, people complain about our lack of explosiveness, our unwillingness or inability to push the ball vertically down the field. Well, guys, we got 16 plays of 20 or more yards, 16 passing plays of 20 or more yards. Auburn's only got 9. So if you think about how much we've struggled in that area, Auburn has been significantly worse than we have. They struggled a lot more than even we have in that area. Now, a big part of that is the issues the offensive line has had protecting the quarterback. Some of the routes they're trying to run, guys, again, off of play action, you've seen it with us. We're going play action, trying to get these routes to develop down the field. It takes time for those routes to develop, and you got to protect long enough for those routes to develop. And their offensive line has had issues with that. It has been a problem for them. So that is part of it. But I'll say this too. In Auburn's defense here, I still have serious concerns, as I laid out earlier this week, about our ability to rush the passer. So will we be able, when they try to go play action and have these shots develop on the field, will we be able to take advantage of what has been a really leaky Auburn offensive line, especially edges there? They brought in 2 transfers, one from USC, one from Virginia Tech, and neither one of them have been good at all. They have been, I'm not going to, I don't want to kill these guys, but they've been bad guys. Like, they just have not gotten the job done at tackle. It's been a problem. But is Georgia equipped to make them pay for that? That's a question I still have. I still have a concern there. But it's not all the offensive line. The other part is Jackson Arnold. If you think Gunnar Stockton leaves the pocket too early and wants to run too early, watch Jackson Arnold play, guys. This guy's internal clock is like 1.5 go. I'm serious. Watch him. As soon as he sees the defense turn their back to him, like in man coverage, the dude is taking off. Like, he's not even going to let the routes develop. You might have a touchdown down the field. He won't let it develop. If he sees guys turn their back to him, he is taking off. And so that also limits their ability to create some of those explosive plays on the field that might be there if he would stick in the pocket a little bit longer. He's also not a super accurate deep ball passer. Great arm. Can hit the ball down the field. I've seen him do it. But it's just inconsistent. The accuracy is not consistently there. So this is another one. I'm not saying that we're going to win this matchup. I'm not going to say that we're going to dominate Auburn, like our pass defense is going to shut down the Auburn pass game. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying here is that there is a really good chance if you look at what the issues Auburn has had creating explosive plays down the field, that they do not have the ability to take advantage of what has been one of the most obvious deficiencies on this Georgia football team. So I know that's not dominating them in this area, but on some level, if they are not able to exploit our obvious weakness, on some level, that's a win, right? On some level. Now, this last one is a matchup I really do like. I think this is a matchup that we can really, really, really control. And that's the Georgia rush defense against the Auburn rush offense. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, right? Because what did I tell you earlier? Auburn wants to run the football. They're a 57% run team. That's what they're trying to do. And they have a really dynamic quarterback who can run the football. And we have had our share of issues defending offenses with quarterbacks the style of Jackson Arnold. And if you watched Auburn early this year, it seemed as though they might be like unstoppable on the ground. Because against Baylor, they ran wild. They went for over 300 yards against Baylor. Jackson Arnold had over 130 yards himself. But in their first 3 games, they averaged, all non-conference games, but they averaged 242 rushing yards per game in those first 3 games, including that 300-plus yard effort against Baylor, where they also averaged 5.8 yards per rush through those first 3 games, guys. Yeah, Jackson Arnold running all over people. Jeremiah Cobb, who is their primary running back. At one point, he was like one of the top 3 rushers in the SEC. I think at one point he was actually like the leading rusher in the SEC early in the year. But SEC play has been very different for them. Their run game has come back down to earth, right? Against Oklahoma and A&M, this Auburn rush game has only averaged 59 yards a game, only 2 yards per rush. Now, of course, sack yards is a part of that. They give them a ton of sacks, and that pulls from your rushing totals. Certainly, you got to factor that in as well. But the reality is, guys, if you watch those games, they have not been able to line up and run the football in their SEC games against Oklahoma and against A&M. Again, there was a time where their top back, Cobb, was one of the leading rushers in the SEC. That's not the case anymore. He ran for 121 against Ball State, 119 against South Alabama, but he had 89 yards combined in their 2 SEC games against Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Jackson Arnold himself had 192 rushing yards through the first 3 games. Last 2 games, guys, SEC opponents, 0 yards. 0 rushing yards on 35 rushes. Yeah, sacks, sure, that's a part of it, but he has not been carving up teams with his legs the way that he was in the non-conference portion of their schedule. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but Georgia is an SEC team, right? And not only is Georgia an SEC team, Georgia is an SEC team that has consistently stopped the run all year long. Georgia right now is top 15 nationally in both rushing yards allowed per game and yards per rush allowed. So from a raw number standpoint and from an efficiency standpoint there, we are still giving up through 3 SEC contests, still giving up less than 100 rushing yards per game in conference, giving up 95 rushing yards per game against SEC teams. This might be the key to the game for Georgia. If this trend holds, if we can control the Auburn run game, they've had a lot of trouble running the ball against SEC teams. We've had a lot of success stopping the run against SEC teams. If that trend holds, if Georgia can win this matchup, I like the Dogs' chances to win this football game. Because what does that mean? If we can stop the run, we get Auburn in 3rd and long. We don't want to be in 3rd and long against their pass rushers, but they've also really struggled in pass pro themselves. And like I said earlier, if they're put in 3rd and obvious passing situations, Jackson Arnold is not a pure drop back passer. When he has to operate in structure, he's not the same quarterback. He needs the run game to be a threat, to be effective in the pass game. And if you remove the run game as a threat, you get them in 3rd and obvious, and they're in predictable passing situations. I don't think they can beat Georgia. I just don't think they can. Even if you had some issues in the pass defense, I don't think they can do that. I don't think they're equipped to do that with how this offense is built. So that is the key, and I do like Georgia's matchup here defending the Auburn run game. So that's a huge one to watch here. Now, on the other side of this, there are some reasons for concern. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? So let's move to the next section here. 2 reasons for concern in this matchup with Auburn. And as I've been talking about a lot here today, guys, let's kind of crystallize and distill it down here. The Auburn pass rush, I'm going to be real with y'all. It scares the bejesus out of me. It freaks me out, man, because they have some flat-out dudes getting after the passer. When I was breaking down their tape, the all 22, watching the TV copy, trying to get ready for this preview episode for you guys, breaking everything down. I'm just sitting there like breaking down hives, like watching their pass rushers get after the quarterback and thinking about, oh my God, some of the issues that we've had protecting the passer. Keldrick Falk, Keon Crawford, Malik Blockton, the list goes on and on. These guys can create crazy levels of havoc in the backfield. And on top of that, we're also playing in a hostile environment at night. It's going to be very loud. If you've been to a Jordan-Hare Stadium, you know what I'm talking about. What does that mean? It means we're going to be operating largely without the benefit of snap count. And we're going to probably be starting almost certainly a true freshman at right tackle. And we'll see what's going on with Monroe Freeling. We need him back in this game, man. But you might be starting Bo Hughley over there at left tackle, who doesn't have a ton of experience. If you can't hear the snap count, that's a problem, guys. For an offensive line unit that has really struggled with communication, even at home, under the best conditions, quiet environments for them we are running our offense. So if we struggled at home with communication, we're likely going to struggle even more on the road with communication on the offensive line. And if you struggle with communication, you might get your quarterback killed against those Auburn pass rush, man, because they can flat out get after you. So I don't know, man. I'm concerned there. Monroe Freeling, we need him back in this game. Kirby sounded mildly optimistic that he's got a shot to play this week. At the very least, it sounds like he does not have to have surgery. So it's not that dreaded high ankle sprain with a tightrope surgery. Thank the dear Lord above for that. We'll see if he plays. If he does go, like how much can he give us? Is he fully healthy? I don't know, man. And I will say Bo Hughley has been good in pass pro. He's been good in pass pro. Run game, that's where he struggled a little bit. He's not the biggest guy, 295, like so he doesn't get as much movement as some of our other offensive linemen do. But he has been good in pass pro. But I mean, guys, put him in that situation against these pass rushers on the road without the benefit of the snap count. That's not a situation I want to be in without both of your starting left tackle or starting tackles, left tackle and right tackle. So that is a scary situation for me, and that's certainly something that I am highly concerned about going into this matchup. And then the second thing here, guys, we've talked a lot about X's and O's here on this show, as we like to on the Glory UGA podcast. But sometimes you got to look at things outside of the nuts and bolts, the football aspects of it. Sometimes intangibles matter here, guys. And I do think the intangibles are something to be concerned about here for Georgia, as I kind of laid out there at the outset of the show. And I'm going to tell you right now, that place, Jordan-Hare Stadium, Jordan-Hare, however they want to pronounce it, whatever. That place is going to be rocking. It is going to be bananas. Neyland Stadium is a great environment. And this year in Neyland was probably the best environment I've been in Neyland Stadium. That's probably the best I've seen Neyland. Like it was a crazy environment inside that stadium. I am telling you, when Georgia is in town, I don't know what happens when other teams are in town. When Georgia is in town, Jordan-Hare Stadium is a nightmare to play in. It is consistently, I think, game in and game out, whether Auburn's good, whether Georgia's good, Georgia's bad, Auburn's bad, whatever. I've been going to these games for a long time. There's some good Georgia teams, some okay Georgia teams, some great Auburn teams, some bad Auburn teams, some okay Auburn teams. It doesn't matter, guys. When Georgia's there, that place is rocking. It is a nightmare to play in. You have the wall of students right on the scoreboard, guys, and they are loud. They are crazy. They do a great job with the in-game stuff. Like I don't think that we do a great job with our in-game production. Auburn does an amazing job with that. They get that place flat out rocking, man. It's crazy. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to describe to someone if you've not actually been in that environment. And there's this two guys. They have not beaten us in forever. It's been a long time, man. 2017, November 2017. They are desperate to beat Georgia. They're desperate for relevancy. And here's a shot for that. Given them on a silver platter. A home night game against Georgia in the Deep South's oldest rivalry, a top 10 opponent coming to Jordan-Hare. It's going to be, as Larry Munson would say, worse than bonkers, man. It's going to be wild. And, as I said earlier, another intangible part of this, they are coming off a bye week. You might not put much stock in that, but I do not discount that, guys. I don't. Hugh Freeze always, going back to his days at Ole Miss, always has that bag of tricks. And with a bye week at his disposal, I guarantee you, they are going to make some adjustments. They're going to put some wrinkles into their offense and defense as well. They're going to run some counters off the base action they have shown throughout this year, some counters to counters that they have shown. And he does a great job. When we played them the past couple years, especially back in 2023 in Auburn, Think about some of the eye discipline violations they created with all the misdirection he runs with his offense. Peyton Thorne running for what, 50-plus yards on us. Peyton Thorne can do that. I'm telling you, Jackson Arnold can too. So he does a great job. Freeze does a great job with misdirection and creating eye discipline violations, and he's done that 2 years in a row against us. That's what this guy does. And you know that we have struggled with that in recent years. We've gotten better with that this year. Certainly we have. But Jackson Arnold poses the biggest threat with his legs that we have seen to date this season. It's a different animal. And he is going to try to exploit some of those issues that we've had in the past. That we've had against Auburn. He knows that. And he's going to have some different things to throw at us that we're going to have to be ready for. And it's tough to be ready for it if you haven't seen it when they got a whole week to just sit back there and cook and create new plays and new counters to throw at us there in that game. So that is certainly something that has me highly concerned. The environment, the fact of a bye week, those factors, I don't think you can discount them. I think they absolutely matter in this matchup. All right, guys, last thing here. Let's wrap it up today. One player to watch. You guys are going to hate me for this, but I don't care. I'm going to throw this at you again. For the third week in a row, I'm going to go with Chris Cole. Why? Tyler, you keep throwing this guy at us. Well, Chris Cole is our best pass rusher. Now, we don't use him rushing the passer all the time because he is technically an off-the-ball linebacker. So we'll line him up on third downs off the edge, have him rush the passer sometimes. Sometimes we'll have him drop into coverage. He does a really good job of taking away tight ends and coverage. He's a Swiss Army knife for us, and he's a really versatile player, a lot like Jalen Walker was, in a different way, but a versatile player for us. But I still believe he is the biggest pass rush threat that we have. 3 sacks in the year, has been a dominant pass rusher. There's a number of times where he's had a guy in his grasp, ready to get him on the ground, and the guy's just escaped. So he could have like 5 or 6 sacks on the year, just get guys on the ground. But I'm going with Chris Cole again. I'm going to ride this guy until it happens. Once again, I told you guys the Alabama tackles were problematic, and they absolutely are, guys. And I know that we weren't able to really exploit that, but I think that we're going to have an even better chance here in this game against these Auburn tackles. They brought in a guy named Xavier Chaplin, and they brought in a guy, a right tackle from on the right tackle position, Mason Murphy from USC, Chaplin coming from Virginia Tech. Those guys are supposed to be the answers for them at tackle. They've been terrible. Like, they've been giving up sacks left and right. They have been, especially Chaplin, a ton of false starts. They almost benched the guy because he had so many false starts in the last 2 games. It's been a really bad look for them. And I think that we're going to have a shot if we can figure out a way to isolate Cole one-on-one with those tackles. Cole can win. He can win. Now, the key is we got to stop the run game. Get them in third and long. If we get them in third and long, and Arnold has to be like a drop back passer, which is not where he excels, to hold the ball a little bit too long, I think Cole's the guy that can absolutely get after the passer and create some of those negative plays that we have been longing for this season, just have not been able to create on a consistent basis. I'll also throw this at you. When we play quarterbacks like this, other than like get after them, because with Arnold, you have to be careful. You want to rush the passer, but you don't want to get too far upfield and create those rush lanes because he'll gash you. He'll just take off if you give him those obvious rushing lanes. So you have to be very careful and disciplined in your pass rush. So against quarterbacks like this, one of the things that we do pretty consistently is we will mirror them. I know people call it spies, but in our nomenclature, in our defense, we call it a mirror. And we'll leave, in the past has been Jalen Walker at times. And I think Chris Cole could be that guy this week against Jackson Arnold. It might be Justin Williams. It could be any one of our linebackers. They all have that type of athleticism, although I do think Chris Cole and Justin Williams are a little bit more athletic than certainly C.J. Allen, who's a good athlete, but not on that level. Raylan Wilson's a really good athlete in his own right as well. But I think any of those guys can do that. And I think that we will switch it up on them. I think Chris Cole is going to have that role quite a bit in this game. So not only is he going to play a key role in getting after the passer against an Auburn offensive line that's really struggling to protect the quarterback, dead last in sacks allowed in the country, but he's also going to be a key part of containing Jackson Arnold and keeping him from exploiting us with the run game and being able to just take off and be lethal with his scrambles and just gashing us in those third and long situations, and it's really like demoralizing defense. There's nothing more demoralizing, guys. You have the offense backed up, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. Quarterback, you rush the passer a little too much, a little too far upfield. Quarterback takes off, gets 13 yards, first down, move the chains. There's nothing more demoralizing, man. So I think Chris Cole is going to play a number of roles for us in this game. I think he might be a key to a potential Georgia victory in this game on Saturday night. So I know I keep going Chris Cole, but for good reason, guys. I think this could be a game that Chris Cole is going to be a big-time playmaker for the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, guys, that is all I have for you here today. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive preview of this Auburn-Georgia game, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. If you did enjoy this content and you're a diehard Georgia fan, go ahead, subscribe right now. Got a lot more content just like this coming your way the rest of the season and beyond. So subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff, guys. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.